Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And unfortunately today, folks, it is just going to be me, so, we'll have a good time. No doubt, we're going to have a good time today because, it is one of our favorite days of the week. That's right. It's Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos, yum, 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 yummity, yum. It's like a treat.
That's right, folks. It is Taco Tuesday. I don't know if we decided to just focus on Taco Tuesday because we really like tacos. And Mike and I, if you've ever watched on Taco Tuesday, you know that we could probably do a whole show just on the different types of tacos that you can eat. But anyway, or it's because we like that song. It's one of the two, but it is a very, very catchy, fun song. And so we just look forward to playing it every Tuesday. So if that's a bother to you, if that's not gunny enough for you, I don't know what to tell you. But clearly, our friend Mr. Patrick Collins over at the Gun Foodie, over at the Gun Food, he's a gun foodie. Clearly he enjoys it. So I'm going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it until then. But today, folks, it's just going to be us. As you can see, Mike is not here with us today. This week started off great for him, but then, work made it so that he's got to earn that paycheck, folks. And I ain't mad at him. I totally get it. But we're looking forward to having him back. But once again, it's all of us. We're here, so that's what really matters. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure to note, if you're someone who's watching us on OpsLens, this is a new one for you because normally, we're on from at 5 p.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. Pacific. We decided to move the time to 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern for two reasons. One, we just, with schedules and everything, it was just getting harder and harder to keep trying to do it kind of in the middle of the day for me here on the West Coast. But also we figured we would pick up some more folks there who have finally gotten home from their commute, had an opportunity to tune in. But here's the other great part about it is those of you who are watching us on OpsLens, well, you can actually communicate with us. We're live now on OpsLens. So if you're watching us on OpsLens, do us a favor. You can either chime in via Twitter, you can chime in via Facebook, or even if you go to 2A News, you can chime in on our YouTube channel, and we will get those comments right here. So now you guys, if you're watching us at home on OpsLens, which is available on Apple TV, on Roku, you will be able to now tune in and watch us and participate in the live discussion, in the live chat as the program is taking place. So with that, we obviously, Mike is off paying the bills. I have to make sure that I'm paying the bills here. So the way that's done is we talk to you guys about our sponsors. So let's do that. Let's start off by talking about Hitman Industries. You can find them at hitmanindustries.net. If you've purchased an AR in the last 5 years, chances are you already have one of their barrels in your home. But just in case you do not, well, why not? Why don't you do a rebuild and maybe rebuild or rebarrel your current rifle, or maybe just do a brand new build? Whatever you decide to do, go to Hitman Industries. They'll have exactly what you need. There's also the California Republican Assembly. Ronald Reagan called them the conscience of the Republican Party. These are folks who are working to elect conservatives to everything from school board all the way up to president of the United States. It is the largest and fastest growing conservative grassroots organization in the state of California. Go to cragop.org and become a member today. Also, got their annual conference coming up. Got some phenomenal speakers. Once again, that's right there at the website. Check it out. You folks are going to want to be there, be a part, and go and check out that organization. Then we have Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com. That's Helping America Wear Guns. They have the best concealed carry tactical holsters that you can find on the market. And the best part is you can get a discount by using the rundown, all caps, no spaces. You can get a discount on your Hog holster today. And then if you're looking for tactical gear, outdoor gear, cold weather gear, whatever it is, if you're looking for helmets or just hats or eyes, glasses or sunglasses or boots or whatever it may be, you can find it at uscombatgear.com. Folks, these folks operate in integrity, fast shipping, great prices. Check them out today. Veteran owned and operated, uscombatgear.com. And finally, however you are partaking of the program, please do us a favor. Seek them out. Do share. Let people know how you're doing it, whether you're watching us or you're listening to us. Now, unfortunately, those of you who are just listening to a podcast, you're getting us probably about half an hour to an hour after we're done. So what we do is we take the video podcast, we convert it into an audio podcast, and then we send it out to you. So if you're if you're listening to the show, fortunately you're not listening live, but hey, it's also great because you can download, you can listen to us wherever you go. You can download us. It's already on your device. So whether you're listening via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, what's the one? iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast, you can find the rundown, 2A views, 2A news, and conservative views. Like, share, subscribe. We do not care how you partake. We just care that you partake. All right. Excuse me. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're getting into the first subject of the day. I'm sure you all already know exactly what that is, and it has to do with the shooting in Nashville. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's being reported. I think it's pretty obvious that some of the things that are real kind of. So we know that an individual went into an elementary school there in Nashville, Tennessee. They went in and with 3 firearms. Now, I've seen 2 different reports. One said it was a long gun, 1 long gun, 2 handguns. Another report said it was 2 long guns, 1 handgun. I'm probably more inclined to believe 2 handguns, 1 long gun. But, once again, I wasn't there. I'm just telling you what the reports are telling you. We also know that this individual is a biological female who apparently is transitioning or is transgender and is, what's the term I'm looking for? Believe they're a male or is identifies as a male. Anyway, that's one thing that initially they really couldn't tell you the gender. And by the way, that's only significant in this case. There have been, I believe, a grand total of it's either 5 or 7 biological females or women who have engaged in or been engaged in mass casualty events involving firearms. So this is truly a rarity. All right. Whether, I'm not going to get into the whole transgender thing, except to say that the media has gone out of their way to try and not get it wrong. I'm like, there's so many different things in this that you need to be focused on as the media that you need to make sure you get right. I don't understand why that is your number one focus. But hey, you know what? That's them. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so what I wanted to take a real brief moment to is talk to you about what we know. All right, so what we know about the shooting that took place there in whatchamacallit. And this is not a great piece, but not a bad piece. They're done by NPR. Once again, they already know that this individual basically pulled up. We know that 6 people have been killed, including 3 children, all of them 9 years old. We know that this individual, Audrey Hale, actually attended the school at one time. We know that Audrey's parents were devoutly Christian. They were believers. They were also devoutly anti-gun. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy. But we know that Audrey Hale was a left-wing activist. We know that she was a trans activist. We know that she was left of center in many cases, and we also know that she attended this specific school. Now, couple of things that they're not going to talk to you about is they're not going to focus on the aspect of the fact that this is, by all indications of what we know so far, there was a manifesto. So what they call a manifesto. So I guess we will learn more as time goes on. But this was a hate crime. Let's be clear. This was because this was a church-run school. This was because this individual was forced to attend the school. This was an attack on a Christian church. Now, even if we just go by their own particular standards, right? Their own standards is that, well, if it's at a church and you go to attack them, I guess according to the mainstream media, unless it's a black church or it's some sort of a Latin church or a Latin mass, or it is an LGBTQ church. I don't know, but all I know is that this is a Christian church, and one of the protected classes that we have in this country is based on faith. And this group was in fact attacked the school was attacked because of their faith. So that's something that they're not going to talk about. All right. We know they're not going to talk about it, but it is in fact the case. The other thing that they're not going to talk about is in Tennessee, that this is another instance of a shooting in a gun-free zone. All right. So in Tennessee, even with a concealed carry permit, you are not allowed to carry on campuses. And how do I know that? Because there was a law that was just introduced this year. And as a matter of fact, I'll pull up that IBC article right here. There was a law, and they're talking about it right here, just introduced this year, that would actually allow, there was one that would allow students to carry on college campuses. But there's also a bill that was introduced that would allow for school districts to allow staff, if they had a concealed carry permit, they would be able to carry on campus. So, as a matter of fact, we were going to say, despite calls from local law enforcement, Republican lawmakers are now looking to loosen the state's gun laws even further, contending that gun owners' rights need to be expanded. No, they just need to be respected, not expanded. They need to be respected. But we'll move on from there. Debate over the bill continues as the state recovers from Monday's mass shooting at a Christian school outside of Nashville that left 3 children and 3 adults dead. Nashville police, Tuesday, the suspect legally purchased the weapons. Okay, where are we at? State lawmakers introduced gun-related bills that would allow permit carriers to bring weapons to college campuses, and another would allow school staff members to carry a handgun. Right? So we now know that that wasn't the case. So this was clearly a gun-free a gun-free zone. Now, here's the other thing that you're not hearing a lot of. You're not hearing that this person drew out and planned this out meticulously. No, I take that back. You are hearing that. But what you're not hearing is that there was another site. I do not know if it was another school, but it was another location that was identified that they were looking at, but they didn't go after that site because security was going to be too tough. It could have been a high school, right? This was an elementary school. They probably targeted a high school because guess what? High schools, or they targeted the school also because it was where they attended, but also it was a church. Anyway, but I digress. When did this shooting happen? I am sorry. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name. I think it's Gregor. But the shooting happened yesterday. So this was a shooting that took place yesterday, which was Monday. Would that be Monday the 27th? It took place yesterday during school hours in Tennessee. Anyway, but back to the conversation. So we know that 98% of all mass casualty events involving firearms happen in gun-free zones. Why is that? Because they are looking for target-rich environments where they will meet little resistance, right? So they know that if there's campus security or if there's security guards there, in particular if there's armed security, they know they're going to meet resistance. We know that the number one way, or almost within minutes of encountering armed resistance, most of these individuals, most of these perpetrators either flee, surrender, or kill themselves, or get killed. One of those things happens within minutes, if not seconds, of encountering an armed individual, whether it is an armed citizen or whether it is a police officer. Now, these police officers, from the time they got the call to the time this individual was dead, was 14 minutes. They got the initial call at 10:13, and this individual was dead by 10:27. So by all accounts, it was they were remarkably quick, right? They haven't really nailed down exactly what was the time difference between when they got the call and when they arrived on campus, or when they arrived on campus and the distance in time between when they arrived on campus and when they and when the individual was engaged and then snuffed out. That information I'm sure will be coming eventually, but all in all, 14 minutes is a pretty quick amount of time. But here's the problem. The problem we're looking at now is, once again, as I've told you, as we talked about before, law enforcement is often minutes away when seconds matter. Imagine if there had been an individual, imagine if there had been a teacher or an administrator with a concealed carry permit, with a firearm there on campus, who could have engaged the individual within minutes of them arriving. From the moment, because when they pulled up, they shot out some windows. They shot out a window. They had already planned this all out. Shot out a window and crawled in a window. Imagine if they had shot out that window, went to crawl in that window, and ran into one or two people with the firearm. Guarantee you, on their way in that window, they would have been taken out. But that's not what happened. Why? Because they are now allowed to carry on campus. See, a lot of people keep wanting to say, well, how are we going to end? I mean, they want to come to gun rights folks and say, how do we end this? How do we end gun violence? How do we end people utilizing firearms? Here's the thing. As long as there is evil, there will be people who will seek to do evil. And we are at a point now, in particular, with the ability to print firearms. We are in a situation right now where the genie's out of the bottle, right? There is no disarming all of society, because once you take the guns, you're going to have to go after the knives. And once you take the knives, you're going to have to take the cars. Once you take the cars, you're going to have to take anything that can be put together in order to make an explosive, or you're going to have to take away hammers, or you're going to have to take away, once again, anything. The point is that we have a violence problem. We have a generation that believes that they have a right to take the lives of others, to do harm to others, because they have an issue, because they're angry, because they're upset, because they're depressed. They seem to think they have a right to do this. Well, you know what? We have a responsibility. We as parents, I know the state wants to parent our kids, but we as parents have a responsibility, as educators, to try, as well as educators, we have a responsibility to this next generation to teach them how you deal with these emotions, right? How do you deal with anger? How do you deal with frustration? How do you deal with depression? Right? We have to empower them to deal with it. We ought not tell them it's the government's fault. It's the white man's fault. It's the transphobe's fault. It's the gay phobe's fault. Here's the deal. You want to empower somebody? Let them know that help them to take ownership of their own feelings. Tell them take ownership of their own emotions. And when they do that, then they can take ownership of their own actions. The reactions to the things that they take issue with. By doing that, now they can help get out of those situations. Teach them constructive ways to respond instead of destructive ways, because that's all they care about. That's all they're preaching. That's all they're teaching, right? The NPR right now is running a whole series on the trans community arming itself. And don't get me wrong, I'm for any community, any individual arming itself in order to protect themselves. But in that, what the NPR is doing is they're talking about it in such a way to say, well, most of society is going to try and kill you or harm you, trans community. So, maybe it's a good thing that you are arming yourself. They've done the same thing when they talk about how many black people are buying firearms. Once again, they're like, well, the white man is out to get you. The cops are out to get you. Maybe you do need to arm yourself. That's what the media is doing. They're not talking about the fact that there are individuals out there who are trying to victimize you, who are trying to rob you, steal from you, kill you, rape you. All of those much more likely than the supposed hate crimes that they're out there pushing. All of those much more likely. But they're not going to talk about that. Those are the sorts of things, folks, as I said in the title of this piece, those are the things that they are not going to be talking about there in these particular stories, in these particular pieces. Sad but true, sad but true. All right, let's move on to our next item. Obama still lying about guns. Does this, I hate to say this, but does this really surprise anybody? I mean, are any of you out there really surprised to see this or hear this? No, I'm going to guess none of you are really surprised by this, because Obama is, he's a liar. And not only that, he hates people who believe in the fundamental right of self-defense. So after the shooting took place yesterday, President Obama took to Twitter. That's right. He went to Twitter, and in his tweet, he decided that he was going to talk about guns, right? And one of the things that he mentioned was, we need to do something, right? Because guns are the number one killer of children. All right. This is a lie. I think I started off with that, right? I did start off by talking about that this was a lie. And let's talk about exactly how this is a lie. And in this piece at Breitbart, I think that A.W.R. Hawkins does a great job of identifying a lot of the issues. The number one thing, though, that we need to point out is the number one cause of death for children is abortion. If you add up the number of abortions that have occurred over the last, since abortion was quote unquote made a constitutional right, I guarantee you there are more people have been killed via abortion than all the other causes of death for children put together. All of them put together times 3, right? That's the number of children whose lives have been snuffed out in their mother's womb. Period. Now we've already, you can disagree. You can say, oh, well, it's not a baby. Well, you know what? Maybe one day I'll replay the whole Bill Burr comedy routine on that. Look, in other words, it's only a baby. It's only not a baby because the mother didn't want it. If the mother wants it, it's a baby. If the mother doesn't want it, well, then it's a fetus. It's a clump of cells that doesn't have any rights. I find that incredulous, but that's what some of y'all believe. But that's not even really the argument that A.W.R. Hawkins is making, because he makes, honestly, some very, very good salient points here. So first of all, he points out that this false information is something that has been pushed out by the CDC for a number of years. It's something that that they've talked about on ABC's The View. Joe Biden has pushed out this number and this information. Everybody under the sun talks about it. But here's the problem with it. And here's a great one. It says, and I'll read this part from his piece. Fox News ran a story entitled "Guns Now the Leading Cause of Death for U.S. Children per CDC." The story noted the CDC figures show firearms-related deaths of people ages 0 to 19 totaled 4,368 in 2020. The motor vehicle deaths for the same age range totaled 4,036. And during June 2nd, 2022 speech, Joe Biden reacted to the CDC's figures by claiming guns are the number one killer of children, right? Now, let's move along. But Breitbart's News dug into the CDC's figures and ascertained that the only way to make the claim work is to count 18 and 19-year-olds as children. But if one does a custom search on the CDC website, adjust the category of children to include those aged 0 to 17, only those voting age and military age, the outcome completely flips. One sees the number of firearms-related deaths for children 0 to 17 was 2,281 in 2020, while the number of vehicle deaths for that same age was 2,503. Another important point to make is that the false parameters treating 18 and 19-year-olds as children for the benefit of boosting reportable gun death numbers actually works against the left. That is because CDC numbers for children 0 to 19 show that individuals are 27 times more likely to die in accidental car death instead of accidental gun death. Now, what does that mean? It means two things. Number one, they're counting adults as children. All right, let's be clear. At 18, you are legally allowed to vote. You are legally allowed. You are held fiscally, civilly, and criminally accountable for the decisions that you make. You can get a credit card. You can live on your own. You don't have to be, quote unquote, emancipated. You are officially emancipated from your parents. So, number one, these are not children. The other thing that they're noting is that in the numbers for children who die in car accidents, clearly they left out the 18 and 19-year-olds, because when you do, you find out that they are 27 times more likely to die in a car accident than they are to die from gun deaths. Now, I've already told you, my old professor once said, there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. And this is evidence of the anti-gun community clearly massaging and manipulating statistics in order to fit a narrative. And by the way, the other thing that they're not telling you is the overwhelming majority of those children, even if we do talk about the children, and even if we include the 18, 19-year-olds, the overwhelming majority of them are involved in gang-related or drug-related activities when they are shot. And by the way, some of those actually also include individuals who were shot by police while engaging in, once again, criminal or drug activity. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying the majority, and I think those numbers bear out. But once again, they don't care about the truth because they're going to lie to you. Because they know that if you say we're doing it for the children, they know that you will. They know that you'll cave. They know that you'll say, well, but we've got to do it for the children. How about this, right? We put armed people around our politicians, and they are far less valuable to us than our children. We put armed people around our money, which is also far less valuable than than our children. So why don't we allow people who have a desire, who've gone through the training? Why don't we have those people? Why don't we allow those individuals to be able to be in a position where to be able to be their own first responders, to be able to defend our children at school? How about that? No, Bueller. Okay, I'm getting no love. All right, let's move right along. In the state of California, they are looking to cap oil profits. That's right. According to the Washington Free Beacon, the legislature has passed a bill that basically says, look, if you make too much money, if your profit margins are too high, we will then penalize you. Right? We will make it so that you cannot make too much money in the state of California. Now, there's a fundamental problem with this because one of the things that they don't do is they don't, how do I want to put this? One of the things they don't do is, first of all, they don't limit losses. Like oil companies from year to year, depending on what is going on, often take losses. And in this particular, for example, in 2020 and 2020, they lost a boatload of cash, billions, tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. Oil companies or the oil industry lost during that time. And now so the money that they made in 2021, 22 is making up for those losses. So now what they're saying is if you make too much money, we're going to penalize you. So here's what's going to wind up happening. Let me just tell you what's going to wind up happening with some of these companies. What they're going to do is once they hit a certain point where they believe they are going to max out their profits, they're going to stop refining oil in the state of California. They are going to stop producing or drilling for oil in the state of California. That is going to cause a shortage of crude oil and gasoline in the state of California. Or not just in the state of California, nationally, right? It's going to cause a shortage of gasoline because we're going to need to import gasoline from somewhere. And oh, by the way, once again, this is going to hit refineries too. We're going to have to find a way to get refineries to change how they produce oil, how they make their oil, so that they can make the California version, the California formula of oil. Right? Which means the prices of oil, once again, are going to shoot up through the roof. The price of gasoline is going to shoot up through the roof. And you know who's going to be making the profits? Oil companies outside of California. That is how dumb the members of the California legislature are. That is how dumb the governor of California is, Gavin Mussolini. Doesn't stop to think about that. Doesn't stop to think that, look, if you are going to penalize me for making money, then I am going to make only as much money as I can make, and then I am going to stop, wait for it, providing the service or the product that I was making money off of. And when I stop providing that product, good, or service, that then creates scarcity. What happens with scarcity? Come on, Econ 101. I know you know this. That's right. Prices go up. I don't get it. I don't get why this is so difficult for them to understand. But it is the reality. It is what is happening. And unfortunately, the economic illiterates in California, in the California legislature, they are victimizing the people of California via their ignorance. And it is a sad state, but it is happening. And oh, by the way, talking about ignorance, let's talk about New York, right? Let me clarify. New York City. New York City, get a rope. All right, I probably just aged myself, but that's all right. Anyway, in New York City, there is a proposal right now, and it's actually moving quickly through the legislature. This proposal would ban height and weight discrimination. It would ban height and weight discrimination. So in other words, if you're hiring somebody you want them to be a certain height or weight, or a certain weight is overweight, then there's also then public accommodations. Now, here's the one. So they're saying you can't discriminate. So here's the one that gets me, and I'm just going to use this one because it's the most one I think a lot of us can relate to. So if you're on a plane, and some airlines actually will require you, if you are over a certain size, they will require you to purchase 2 seats because you're going to take up on the plane 2 seats. And it's really not fair to have somebody who is sitting next to you who also purchased a seat. It's really not fair to have them have to share their seat with you because you are exceptionally large. Now, I'm not obese, I'm not overweight, but I do have rather slightly wide shoulders. But I try to do a pretty good job. That's why I try to always sit on end seats, try not to be in the seat next to me. But I've been in situations where they've had me and maybe 1 or 2 other bigger guys trying to sit next to each other. And it ain't fair. It ain't right. And I feel bad for a smaller person who might have to deal with that, who might have to deal with other people sitting in their seats. But according to New York City, that doesn't matter. Now, what's funny is this is all part of the whole, feel good, love you the way you are. But we have a fundamental problem with reality once again here in the United States. And here's the problem. Obesity is a health issue, right? 42% of Americans are obese, period. 42%. We just had a pandemic sweep through the United States where the second most common comorbidity was obesity. The most common was being elderly. The second most common was being obese. And the left, instead of saying, you know what? Maybe if we talked to people, got them to get out and exercise, got them to eat right, maybe, just maybe, they'll live through COVID. But no, we didn't do that. We said, go get a shot. We told them, don't go see your friends. Don't see your family. Sequester yourself in your home. Cut yourself off from society. No, when they probably should have been saying, and by the way, just so you know, the reason why obesity was such a common one is because whether it is respiratory issues or it is cardiovascular issues, which were two of the things that it would affect your cardiovascular system as well as your respiratory system. If you can improve your overall health, you improve the likelihood of being able to survive COVID, right? I'm not saying there was a guarantee. I'm just saying you reduce the likelihood. But they don't want to talk about that. No, instead, they just are like, yeah, it's okay to be fat. Talking about being, what's the word I'm looking for? Talking about being healthy, well, that's fat shaming. Talking about taking care of your health, that's fat shaming, at least in their eyes. And that's a problem, as I see it. All right, moving right along, it is time, and we are now at our parting shots. Brought to you by Hog Holsters, helping America wear guns. You can find them at hogholsters.com. Make sure to use the discount code, The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right here. All caps, no spaces. You don't have to have the quotes, but just use The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your discount today. Our first one, this had to do with some stuff that we know about the shooter that took place today. Shooter had an NAFO, trans, and socialist flag targeted a Christian school. Sounds like a bunch of right-wing hate to me. No? Yes? Maybe? Okay. How about this one? I'm going to protest that redneck racist shooter. Right? You see this person has all of the little flags that are above them, and it says shooter was a trans leftist. And yes, I believe we can clearly say that the individual was both trans and they were a leftist. They were not a leftist just because they were trans. Okay. Then this one's got the gear shift in reverse, and it's got the same person now saying, what do I do now? Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Anyway, moving right along to the next one. Here we go. Bam. All right. And this isn't relativist because the gun control is a partnership between Democrats and criminals. Yeah, that's kind of a pretty obvious one. Because you notice, once again, I will tell you this. At the same time they are trying to disarm law-abiding citizens, at the same time, they are trying to make it more difficult for you to purchase a firearm to defend yourself, your family, your property. They are letting criminals out on the streets. They are decriminalizing crime and letting them out. And the prosecutors, yeah, they are writing off. They are suspending those gun charges, right? They are dismissing those gun charges. So clearly, the people that they're after, well, those folks would happen to be us. Yeah, anyway. All right, folks. Well, hey, it's about that time. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Before we go, I want to make sure to do another shout out to our sponsors, Hitman Industries. You find them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol length barrels. Find them there. CAGOP.org. That's where you'll find the California Republican Assembly. Be a part of California's future today. Hog Holsters, helping America wear guns. Get your hog holster at hogholsters.com. Use discount code Rundown, all caps, no spaces. And then combat gear, tactical gear, outdoor gear, whatever you are looking for, you'll find it right there at uscombatgear.com. Anyway, folks, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you commenting. You folks are the ones who help make this show. If there's a topic that is in the news that you'd like us to talk about, put it in the comments. And if we can get to it, we'll go ahead and we'll throw it into the tomorrow's show or the next show or sometime closely after that. And on that note, thank you so much once again for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing, and we will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. See you then.